Hello all, welcome to video lecture series on computer communication networks. So till the last video we discussed the TCP/IP protocol suite and the individual layer operation or the functionalities. In this video we shall be discussing the encapsulation and decapsulation process. So this video will cover the concepts of encapsulation and decapsulation, followed by the different addressing schemes overview. Then we will be discussing multiplexing and demultiplexing, and finally one of the other model that has been proposed, that is open system interconnect and its comparison with TCP/IP. So as been already discussed, there are 5 layers in TCP/IP protocol suite. So all of these layers has a logical connection with subsequent intermediate nodes or the end systems at their levels itself. In other terms, the application layer of the source has a logical connection with the application layer of the receiver. And the transport layer also has a end-to-end connection, that is between sender to destination. There is a logical connection between the transport layer itself. When it comes to internet or the network layer, since the network comprises of many intermediate devices such as routers, which enables the movement of datagram from one network to the another network. So in that scenario, the internet or the network also enables the end-to-end reliable delivery of the packets. In that case, here the logical connection will be either between source to the router and then router to the destination. But the source network layer will be logically connected to the destination network layer. But when it comes to data link layer and physical layer, these two layers establishes connection from the current point or the current node to the next node only. So thus the current node data link layer is logically connected to the data link layer of the next node, the packet or the message that will be visiting. So in that case, the physical link as well, physical layer as well as a data link layer has the logical connection that ranges from only one hop, that is the current node to the next node. So with this preset, when we use the term encapsulation and decapsulation, here the term encapsulation means that each individual layer will encapsulate the message or will embed the message or the datagram or the packet, the data unit that it has received from the upper layer inside its own packet format or its own data unit format, and it will add the layer specific information there in terms of headers and trailers. So header typically will be having, some of the times it will be having addresses. Sometimes it might be having the other related information such as the packet lifetime or the next hop value. All those information will be there, which is required for movement of the packet. And one thing that one need to understand here is that any information added by a specific layer is understood only by the same layer at the next intermediate device or at the end device. That means the encapsulation that is done at application layer can be decapsulated only at the receiving application layer. So encapsulation is process of embedding a data unit inside the layer specific format, and decapsulation is adding removing that particular layer specific information that is added at the sender or the intermediate nodes. So clear? So encapsulation could be in terms of adding layer specific headers as well as trailers. Decapsulation is process of removing those specific headers as well as layers at the receiving site or the processing intermediate node. Let us look into how exactly this process happens. So I have taken a situation wherein I have two devices. One is source and other one is router. So I'm here trying to explain both the process of encapsulation and decapsulation. First we'll take encapsulation. I'm considering a communication is happening between two end system between which they are connected by a router. So first part I'll show the communication that happens between the source to the router, and in the decapsulation part I'll show the communication that happens between a router and a destination device. So initially we have 5 layers. So application layer is a level, or it is a point where the message or actual information that has to be conveyed is generated. So at application level, the data to be exchanged, which is considered as a message, is created, and this particular message will not have headers, or it will not have any trailers. But if it also has, dependent on the type of the application we are making use of, there is no condition, that there is no requirement that all the messages that are created in application message should have header and trailers. There might be some applications which does not require it, and there might be some application which may require it. So when this particular data unit of message is sent to the transport layer, it has to be sent as the complete message in terms of header and trailers, if there are any. So the transport layer takes the message as a payload, and it adds a transport layer specific headers to the payload, which will be having the identifiers such as the source and destination port numbers, or the source and destination application programs that are trying to communicate, which want to communicate along with the additional informations which are required for the reliable end-to-end delivery. So we'll be looking more forward to it when we discuss the services provided by the transport layer, because it provides service in terms of error detection and correction, flow control and congestion control. All this operations to happen, there should be some sort of identifiers that should be there, and all those informations will be appended as a header, so which is denoted by 4 here. So the resulting data packet is considered as, or the resulting data unit from the transport layer is called as a segment when the implemented protocol is TCP, that is transmission control protocol, and this particular data unit is referred as a datagram when UDP is implemented, that is user datagram protocol is implemented. Clear? So dependent on which protocol that is selected at the transport layer, the output of the transport layer will be either a segment or it could be a datagram. So it adds a layer specific information. So this is the process, we call it as encapsulation. So the message is encapsulated inside either a segment or inside a datagram. So this particular datagram or this particular segment or user datagram is then given to the network layer. So it takes a transport layer packet or the data unit, and it will add its own header as a header information, which typically will be having information related to the source and the destination network address information. Along with that, it may have additional information such as fragmentations or for error checking of the header and all those things. So this resulting datagram, this resulting unit, information unit is referred as a datagram. So the network layer here, it will add its own information in terms of headers, which will be having basically the source and destination network addresses. Along with that, error checking for headers, as well as if there are if the message is too much larger, then it could be split into smaller portions, fragments. So fragmentation could be done dependent on the network that we are operating in. So all those informations will be embedded in the header field 3 here. So thus a transport layer data unit, that is segment or a user datagram, is encapsulated inside a network layer datagram, and it is given as input to the next layer, that is data link layer. So the data link layer takes the network layer packet or the datagram as the input, and it will add its own header, which basically will be physical link layer address or a physical address of the source and the next hop. So since data link layer establishes connections, or it has a logical connection with the current node to the next node only, because of that the header part, that is header 2, that is identified here, will be having information related to the source, the current host current host link address, and the next hop device link address, it will be part of it. And this particular resulting data unit that is outputted from the data link layer is referred as a frame. So here in this case, the source A will be having the source A's link address will be there in header 2, and the link address of the router will be there. On which particular port or in which particular link of the router device is connected, that particular link address will be there. And then it is sent to physical layer. So at physical layer, since it does not perform any specific operations in terms of manipulating the data, they just transform the incoming frame from the data link layer into bits. Basically this information will be in the bits, but the transmission medium that we are making use of is either it is wired medium or a wireless medium. It can carry the signal in terms of electrical signals. So the bit information in the frame has to be transformed into a electromagnetic signal or a electric signal. So physical layer basically performs this operation of transformation of the signal from bits or frames into, or bits into electric or electromagnetic signal based on the nature of the medium that is being used, and it is sent to the router. So at the router we have the message that is received from the physical layer, which will be in the form of electromagnetic signal, and it is converted back into a frame that has to be given as input to the data link layer. So here the decapsulation happens. So basically, since physical layer does not add any information, the same information has been taken, and at the data link layer it will verify, since the address that we have inserted in the frame was the source logical source link address was there, as well as the link address of the router was there. That particular portion will be removed. That is called as we'll refer that as stripping off of the headers. So that particular header information, that is header information 2, has been ripped off and it is given to the network layer. So at the network layer, based on the network addresses that are present in the header, that is header 3, it will check on which particular link the data has to be forwarded next. So on which particular data link, link the data has to be forwarded, because the router can have n number of links. So if data is received on one link, it has to be sent on other links corresponding to the exact network address of the destination that it has received. So it will look into the destination network address. Based on that, it will select a particular link on which the data should be sent so that it can reach the intended destination. So now the logical address that is added here will be different. The link layer address that it will be added is different, because it establishes the link layer establishes connection between the current host to the next host only. So because of that, here in this case, when we consider the header 2 had information of this as a source and the router as the destination. But now the router will be source and the probably the next router or the next device on the path will be the destination. So that is why once again the encapsulation happens. It will add its own information and it will send it to the physical layer for transmission. So in this way, from application to physical layer, encapsulation happens. At the router, since it is operational only at 3 layers, that is physical layer, data link layer and network layer, till data link layer decapsulation happens. Network layer information is not changed, that is header is not changed, it will remain as it is, and it is given and it is been forwarded to the next link on the path. So this is how the encapsulation happens. At the same time, the decapsulation happens at the router. Coming to the next part of it, where the delivery of the packet happens to the exact host from the router. At the router, we have 3 layers: physical layer, data link layer and the network layer. So at the network layer, we will be having header information specific to network layer, that is header 3, and the transport layer header, that is 4, as well as the message. So this entire unit is called as a datagram at the network layer. And once the data is received at this particular router, is received on one link and it has to be forwarded on the other link. That is why the link address has to be changed. So here it will become source now and it will become destination. So accordingly, the encapsulation happens here. This header will be having this link as the input and this link as the output, and this is been forwarded on the link. And at the destination, the data is received at the physical layer, where the data is received in terms of electromagnetic signal or electric signal, from which frame will be generated, and that frame will be having informations in terms of that is as created as that of the router layer. And at the data link layer, the decapsulation happens now. It will remove the data link layer specific information that was added earlier. So the header 2 will be removed here. So header 2 is removed and it is given to the network layer. So at the network layer, we have only the header information 3. And that particular information, since it has already reached, it will cross verify with whether it is the actual destination to which the data has been sent. And if it is the destination, then it will remove the header part, that is header 3, and it will give it to the transport layer. So the transport layer here, once again, we will get back either a segment or a user datagram. So transport layer once again will look into the information whether there is a logical connection that is established between the source transport layer as well as the destination transport layer. In that case, it will strip off the header 4 and it will give the information to the message. So this is how the decapsulation happens at the destination system. So this is the overall picture of how exactly the encapsulation and decapsulation is performed. One thing that we need to keep in mind from this particular process is that encapsulation is process of embedding higher layer information inside a layer specific information, thereby adding a layer specific information in terms of headers and trailers and sending it to the next layer. And decapsulation is the process of removing or stripping off of the layer specific information added at a specific layer. So when it comes to end system, that is host, that is source and destination, they are capable of performing encapsulation at all the layers and decapsulation at all the layers. But when it comes to the intermediate devices in terms of routers as well as link layer devices, switches, so basically the switches are active at 2 layers, that is physical layer and the data link layer. When it comes to router, it is active at 3 layers, that is data link layer, physical layer, data link layer and network layer. But the data link layer address header will change at each individual devices, but the network layer information or the header information will not change at basically at the routers. So with this preset, next we shall look into the addressing schemes. As we have already considered, uh, there will be a logical connection that exists between specific layers, that is application layer and application layer, transport layer and transport layer, and so on. So any communication that involves two end devices need to have two entities, two identities. That means if person A is speaking, he should have one identity that person B can understand. Any information he want to send to B, he has to know the address of B. Only then a proper communication happens. When the telephone communication is happening, that is basically because I know the phone number of the other person. So the phone number act as the address of other person. So when he receives the phone ring a call, then my number will be displayed, so that will be the address of the sender. So any two communicating parties, those who are part of the communication, the identity is must and should, and that identity is given by the two address. Any two pair of communicators, there should be a pair of addresses that should be there. One is a source address and other one is a destination address. So we have total 5 layers. So as it looks, we may require 5 pairs of addresses. The physical layer will not require addresses, as the units of the data that is exchanged at physical layer is in terms of bits. It is not possible to add address to a bit. Bit itself is a single unit of a smallest possible unit of information. So physical layer will not have any addressing schemes. Apart from that, for each individual layer there will be addressing schemes. So there are 4 addressing schemes that we have at the application layer based on the application that we are using. So we may have application specific names. For example, if you take into consideration email services, so you will be given a domain, you will be given an email address which is very specific to a domain. For example, akj@gmail.com. That clearly means AKJ is a user and he is operating in the Gmail domain. For example, if you get into your Facebook page profile, then you will be having a domain in terms of facebook.com/ the profile name. So that is the application specific name, or the application layer specific identity or the address that is being given. So if anybody is trying to send you a mail, he requires an email address, so which is very specific for a specific user. Then we have port addressing at transport layer. So since I may run on a end system a number of applications, so to categorize, to filter out the specific traffic with respect to specific application, each individual application is being given a port. So for example, Gmail may be having a port number 80. So any information that is received on port number 80 is intended for Gmail. Likewise, we may have for FTP different port number will be there. So any data that is having a port address of a specific port number will help the destination system to identify to which application the data unit has to be sent out. So then we have logical address, which is also called as IP address, which is present at the network layer, which typically gives the identity of a person inside a network. So if we take into consideration a large network, inside that large network there might be n number of devices. If there are n number of devices, there can be n number of users who are using this internet for communication. Then these n identities or these n entities should have n identities or n addresses. So inside a network, to identify a person or to identify a system, address has been used, which is called as a network layer address or a logical address or a IP address, that is internet protocol address. Then we have physical addressing, which happens at a data link layer. So each of these devices inside a network are connected using a link. We have interconnecting devices in between. So these interconnecting devices enables the movement of the traffic from source to the destination. So each of the host is connected to an intermediate device using a link. So these interconnecting devices will have n number of ports or n number of links that are possible. So router can have all these. If there are n number of devices that are connected to it, it can have n plus 1 it should have n number of links, as it should enable each individual user a separate link. So each individual so then any traffic that is incoming or any traffic that is outgoing, it is required to identify to which particular link the data has to be sent. So that is given by a physical addressing, or it is also called as a link address, and it is very familiarly known as a MAC address. So here the logical addressing is not a permanent address, it is a temporary address, which is confined only to the network in which it is operating, and it changes every single time I change a network or I change a connection. But when it comes to physical addressing, it is a permanent address that is given for a device. So it is basically present on the network interface card, based on whether you have a wireless network interface or a wired network interface. Based on that, you will be given a specific number or specific address which is 6 bytes in length, and it's a permanent address. So as long as the network interface card is active, its address will not change, but the logical address or the IP address changes from network to network in which they are operating. So these are the 5 layers we have, and these are the data units at each individual layers. At the application layer, the data unit is referred as message, and at the transport layer, based on the protocol that is used, either if the TCP is used, the data unit is referred as segment. If the user datagram protocol is used, the data unit is referred as user datagram. At the network layer, the data unit is referred as datagram, or sometimes it is also referred as packets. And at data link layer, the unit is referred as the frames. And at the physical layer, the data unit will be in terms of bits. And similarly, the addressing schemes at each individual layers. At application layer, it is a specific name which is of user interest or the application interest. Based on that, each individual user is identified by their names. At the transport layer, each individual communicating entities are identified by port numbers based on the application that they are using. And at the network layer, each entity is identified by making use of logical addresses or IP addresses. And at data link layer, each entity is identified by physical address or the link layer address. So the next concept that we need to discuss is multiplexing and demultiplexing. As we have already considered, the TCP/IP protocol suite uses several protocols for its operations at different layers. So thus, it is required that at each individual layer, whatever the protocol that is being selected, the same protocol has to be selected at the destination in order to have a meaningful communication. So that is why at the source we have multiplexing and we have demultiplexing at the destination. So the multiplexing at the source means that a protocol at a layer can encapsulate the packet from several next layer protocols at a time. So the selected protocol at the specific layer can encapsulate, if I have multiple number of protocols at the same layer itself. For example, if you consider TCP, transport protocol, transport layer itself, transport layer has 2 protocols. So one has to first select which protocol has to be used in order to process the information. So that is why the multiplexing is used. So once a protocol has been selected as specific layer, it can encapsulate the traffic from the next higher layer one at a time. And demultiplexing means that a protocol can decapsulate and deliver the packet to the next higher layer protocol one at a time based on the multiplexing that is being performed. So to be able to perform both multiplexing and demultiplexing, each of the protocol need to have a specific field in the header in order to identify which protocol has been used for the encapsulation. So we'll try to demonstrate how exactly multiplexing happens. So these are the protocols that are present at application layer. So we have protocols such as FTP, HTTP, DNS and SNMP, as we have already discussed. So here, based on the nature of the application that we are making use of, it may require either TCP or it may require a UDP or a UDP protocol at transport layer. So here we have considered the FTP and HTTP makes use of TCP protocol. Thus, these protocol informations are multiplexed inside a TCP segment, and the DNS and SNMP protocol data packets are multiplexed inside the UDP datagram format, and this particular information then has to be multiplexed inside a IP. So thus, whatever the outgoing packet is there here, IP is a single packet. So these two protocols are multiplexed into a single TCP segment. These two protocols are multiplexed into a single UDP datagram, and TCP and UDP data units are multiplexed into a single IP datagram. So when it received at the destination part, this IP datagram, based on the header information, one can find out whether it is a TCP segment or UDP segment, and at the TCP and UDP segment or datagram header fields, one can identify the specific application that specific protocol that has been used, and based on that to that specific protocol, the protocol has been used to deliver or decapsulate the packets at the destination part. So this is how the multiplexing and demultiplexing is being used. So basically this concept allows the end system to use several protocols at a specific layer dependent on the application of interest. So then we have OSI model. When we discuss or when we speak of internet, the TCP/IP model or the TCP/IP protocol suite is one of the widely used term or one of the widely used protocol suite. But initial network model that was proposed was open system interconnection model, which was proposed by Internet Organization for Standardization, which is ISO, is a multinational body which performs the worldwide agreement depends on the international standards which are specific for computer communication. The ISO standard that covers all the aspects of network communication is referred as Open System Interconnect model or Open System Interconnection model. So the open system is basically set of protocols that allows the end users or two different systems to communicate regardless of the manufacturers or regardless of the underlying architecture. It is not that a specific vendor can only communicate with specific vendor. It is not only Lenovo can communicate to Lenovo or Dell can communicate to Dell. It is not that. Communication is a general aspect. Irrespective of the manufacturer, irrespective of the vendors, irrespective of the underlying architecture, the communication has to happen. So the open system provides, or open system proposed that particular set of that particular model, which comprises of set of protocols which allows any two communicating parties to communicate regardless of the underlying architecture. So the main purpose of OSI model is to facilitate the communication between the two different systems without requiring any changes that has to be done with respect to underlying hardware or the software. But the OSI model is not a protocol. It is just a model which is used for the understanding and the designing of the network architecture, which has to be flexible, robust, as well as interoperable, which can be adapted by any manufacturing entity, or which could be adapted by any designer. So the OSI model is considered is considered as a basic for basis for the creation of the protocols that we use in TCP/IP protocol suite. Once again, OSI model is a layered framework which is used for the design of network system which allows the communication between the all types of computer systems. So the OSI model comprises of 7 layers. So the overall tasks have been split with respect to their functionalities into the 7 layers. So the first layer is same as that of TCP layer, that is application. Second one is presentation layer. Sorry, sixth layer is presentation layer, and fifth layer is a session layer. Then we have transport layer. Then we have internet or network layer. Then we have data link layer, and the last one is physical layer. So these 7 separate layers are related to each other. Each of the layer will define a part of the process in order to move the information across the network. Now comparing the OSI model, which is a conceptualization, into the implementation. Implementation is nothing but TCP/IP is an implemented protocol suite which is widely adopted. So comparing these two, one can clearly make this particular difference. Apart from above 3 layers, all other 4 layers remains the same. That means there is no change with respect to the transport layer, network layer, data link layer, and the physical layer. They remain same. But when it comes to TCP/IP model, the application layer, presentation layer, and the session layer are combined together to form a single layer, which is application layer. So session and presentation layers are missing in TCP/IP protocol suite. The application layer basically in the TCP/IP model is considered to be combination of all the functionalities that are defined in presentation as well as the session layer. There are 2 major reasons that were required. First is that TCP/IP has more than one transport layer. So some of the functionalities of the session layer has been given are available in some of the transport layer. Because of that, the session layer has been removed or omitted from the TCP/IP model. And the application layer is basically not as one piece of software. Many applications can be developed at this particular layer. So some of the functionalities that are defined in either presentation layer or a session layer could be considered or could be built into an application itself. Because of that, this 2 layers, that is presentation layer and the session layer, are embedded inside the application layer itself. So one of the major reason for lack of OSI model success is that initially when OSI model came into picture, it came after the TCP/IP model implementation. Initially they thought that TCP/IP model can be completely replaced by OSI model, but it didn't happen because of many reasons. First one is that the OSI model completed when the TCP/IP model was completely in place. That means it was already in implementation, and it was already into the action, and a lot of time as well as money was invested to construct and to implement, to develop and implement the TCP/IP model. So if the implementation has to change to OSI model, it required a lot of time, at the same time a lot of money. So because of that, many didn't choose, or many people chose, or many vendors chose TCP/IP over OSI model. The second reason is that some of the reasons that were defined in OSI model were not completely defined. For example, the services that were provided in presentation and session layer were listed in the document, but the actual protocols for these two layers were not completely defined. They cannot be described also, and the corresponding software were also not completely developed. Because of that, because of the confusions that were present with respect to the protocol that has to be used for the operations at presentation layer and session layer, many people hesitated for the implementation of OSI model. And the third reason is that when OSI was implemented by an organization inside a different application, it didn't show high level of performance to ensure the internet authority to switch from TCP/IP protocol suite to the OSI model. In terms of performance also, when an organization tried to implement OSI, it didn't give effective performance in the internet. Because of that reasons also, the OSI model was not widely adapted. So these were the major reasons that OSI model was not widely adapted, or it was not succeeded in terms of its implementation. The first reason is being since the TCP/IP model was already into the action, it had already many people had invested much of time as well as money into it. So people were not ready or were hesitant to invest the same amount of time as well as money for the OSI model implementation. Second is that the many of the functionalities that were defined at presentation layer and session layer didn't define a specific protocol for their application. So that lagged its implementation. And finally, when the OSI model was implemented at an organization, it didn't give the high level performance as expected when it in its operation within internet. Because of that, the TCP/IP model continued to be in the action till now. So that's it for this particular video. So that covers the basic introduction of computer communication networks. I hope you like the content. For more contents on computer networks, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much.